Senator Otti was very prominent in that. And top of what he said was the revenue that has accrued to the states in the last 2 years been equivalent to his 4 months. And there's a particular critic who is based in Scotland. I'm sure you know him. He did a piece which I stumbled on this morning, tagged Abia salaries and pensions, demystifying the noise.
Yeah.
From the figures released as gleaned from the Abia State's financial report, the total Abia State revenue is 1.4 trillion naira. And from the balance, taking salaries and pensions out, we have about 931 billion naira left. So he is asking, apart from the 1 or 2 roads he mentioned Port Harcourt Road and some of the roads that have been executed by this administration, what is Governor Alex Otti doing with the rest of the figures? 931 billion. So effectively, he is asking and saying that maybe the monies accruing to the state is not commensurate with the executions on ground. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's the mistake.
So that's what
the people sit here as journalists, and it's important you run your own independent inquiries, your own independent investigations. And when you do, lay hands on certain figures, you also call people who are grounded in financial management, also to guide you so that you don't fumble, so that you don't make serious mistakes in your submissions. Because sometimes when you read these things and they are exposed as being baseless, you really end up ridiculing yourself. It's just like what Governor Alex Otti said in one of the media chats, where some people were condemning him based on the budget proposal. If you say we are going to spend, let's say, 100 billion, and now out of that 100 billion, and you spent, the project started, you'll be able to spend, okay, let's say 10 billion in education, and you spent 2 billion, you carry this over to the next budget year, you understand? It doesn't mean, and then when the whole thing is being, the proposal is coming, you show what was spent, because it's in your audited account that whatever was spent, is seen. You now find out that what is being carried over, the amount there, has not been squandered, that was not spent. Because if your revenue projection is 100 billion, and you arrive at 50 billion, you can't do any magic, okay, to spend to execute the remaining projects. So if somebody is alleging that we collected 1 point how many trillion, it's easy for you to do. You look at our FAC allocation, what we have got to look at the internally generated revenue. Because on many occasions, they've disturbed. For example, they said we claim to have spent 80 billion on smart school, which is false, and nobody can bring any documents. They keep shouting that they take it from our website. I challenge anybody here to go and bring any document from that website where we claim to have spent 80 billion on smart school. But they have been trending it, and some people embrace it and are asking us questions based on what the opposition is saying. You should ask us questions based on what you've investigated and find out to be true. That will guide you, and that will elevate the discussion to a certain level. This is a guy that is angry, very angry, and he did the same thing with the Basel government. They tricked him in. He brought a proposal for contract. They embarrassed him and he ran away. He didn't allow Basel to do it again. He continued, and he has been doing this thing here now. So if he wants to engage the government on issue-based debate, he will respond. But when you go and model up figures and arrive at order and turn it up, and some people will, no, we will just ignore him because it doesn't make it, because what he's claiming is false. Claiming we have gotten 1 point how many trillion and we've just spent 190 billion or so on salaries and asking us 900 something million. Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. Okay? Because when you look at the projects alone, first and foremost, when I said we need to come up with the exact figure that the government has gotten. And then we look at the projects that the government has executed and look at the ongoing projects. When we assume this government assumed office, go and Google, go and check. As at 2021, Governor Kezi Ikpeazu, in one of his speeches, said that Abia workforce was around either 30 or 35,000, but what he said wasn't more than 35,000. I heard him clearly. And if you Google, you will still get the figure where he said it. That the Abia workforce was very high and that they were not going to recruit more people. Meanwhile, a few months later, they recruited people ahead of the election. Now, go today and check. When the government, the present government, concluded verification exercise, the Abia workforce arrived stood at 67,000 last year. 67,000. That's more than times two of, almost times two of what we inherited. Why was it that? Because a lot of people were not captured in the system. You employed a lot of people in the local government and in different places, and you weren't paying them. Meanwhile, their names have been there, their names have been on the payroll, because what they do, they will employ you, maybe after 3 or 4 months, they will pay you one month, job 4 months later, they will pay you another one. So they've already, your name is already on the payroll. And now that we came, what are we going to do? Are you going to start yanking off people who have been on the payroll maybe for 2 years? But the most important thing is that they were being owed heavy arrears. They weren't being paid. So by the time this government concluded the verification exercise, the thing stood at 67 billion. Now with the employment of 5,000 teachers, how many do you have now? You have 72,000. Now if you conclude the 4,000, you will almost say 80,000. You're heading to 80,000. Is there any workforce in the southeast that has such number of workforce? There is none. There is even none that has half of that number. But these are the things that people do not know. So you have yourself, you trapped to taking care of a lot of challenges that people do not know. Here, this state was collapsing. That's the truth. Before this government, if not for the coming on board of this government, the level of decay, because you saturated the place with people. When we came, you had 900 and something staff in government house alone. 900 and something people working in government house alone. The government, you can't sack anybody. It started by transferring some of them. Now you have, I think, 500 and something working there. People doing nothing. A lot of them are not doing anything. So it was a problem that they created. And like I said in my interview 2 days ago, they were being owed 34 months salary arrears. Absolute 15 months. HMB 12 months. Absolute 11 months. Asset at 27 months. All these arrears have been cleared. You may have 1 or 2 issues with some person, but all these arrears have been cleared. Because you saw the people that were paid arrears at Ogbonnoni Polytechnic. They were employed by the former government and sacked by the same former government. What the government did now do to us, because even though when they were employing them, they knew that they didn't need them in that institution. Those things were just done to use them and commit fraud, all kinds of fraud and all that. And that was after a while, after about 2 or 3 years, they sacked them and owed them. And that is what the governor has taken off now, has cleared the arrears. I had a few persons, because I've gotten a call, a few persons that said they've not gotten it. Call and conclude your verification and you will be paid. The governor gave that instruction and gave the approval. So this person that sees in Scotland to churn out all these lies, is ignorant of what is happening here. He doesn't understand the magnitude of the challenges. You said the 1 or 2 rows, say that alone, because that's what he does. He said, I can only see 2 rows. It doesn't make any sense. So when you look at the it's 67 kilometers, it's unprecedented in our history. Look at Ohanko Road. Look at the one that is ongoing at Oboha Road. You see all the strategic roads going on everywhere. And look at the 30-kilometer Ozuaba-Mdo-Kreke Road. So look at the so that somebody will come here and tell her, I can only see only 2 roads. So that's part of it anyway. Like I said, that's what you see in a democracy. So disregard that concocted reports and dwell on facts. If you go and investigate what we have gotten, challenge us with facts, and we will respond. Government is doing a lot in many areas. A lot of things are happening in this state, both in the health sector. If you know how much is spent to clear waste in this state, you will know why the former government couldn't do it. If you know the amount that is spent in a week, you know there was something that happened in I think that was in November or so. There was an issue with their trucks, and for 48 hours, 24, little over 24 hours, refuse everywhere. The wait has started taking pictures. So if you know the kind of money that is spent on a weekly basis to clear refuse here, you will know. Somebody was showing that was trending. In fact, it was Sahara Reporter that published it, I think, yesterday. So videos and pictures of refuse dumps in the heart of Lagos. just close your eyes and 24 hours and fail to do something, see if will take over here. So requires well-organized, structured institution and sustainability and sincerity in this job for you to be able to achieve what this government is doing. So when they tell you, they don't even know what is spent. But it's not everything now, because if you spend 100 million in removing waste and you come and publish it, today I spent, no. When you do your data, can you see what was spent, how it was spent, where it was spent? You know, we are not sent, but we are here very serious to transform our state. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. We're already in the political season, and you are very much aware, Mr. Ferdinand, of the obvious division in the Labour Party. What is the true situation? Maybe 4 months away to party primaries. When is the governor leaving? Secondly, you guys spent a lot of time in the other side of the divide as opposition party, opposition figures. For 8 years, you critically took on government activities, and
yes,
right now, the allegation is that your administration has deployed propaganda to silence opposition voices. I don't know how you will not react to that.
It's not a matter of when are you leaving the Labour Party. For me, we have surmounted the bigger threats, the bigger challenges. You saw that in the FCT, that Labour Party was not recognized. They were not allowed to, the candidates were not allowed. I'm sure you're aware of that. And they gave you, Anaki gave you cogent reason for that. And that was what we were saying. You know, you don't solve a problem by scratching it. Governor Alex Otti took the bull by the horns last year, in 2024, right? When we did that stakeholders meeting, you know, my here that was attended by the leaders of the party across board. Some persons were trying to pamper the problem. Meanwhile, we had been communicated to by INEC to say this man's tenure, Abure's tenure, has expired. If you are dealing with him, you are treading on a dangerous path. It was after that information that His Excellency called Abure, sat down with him, said, and we showed him the documents because his tenure expired after the 2023 election. The party leadership met and agreed to give him 1 year extension to enable the party prepare for their congresses and convention. Abure now went and staged a coup and said he had done a convention. And everybody who understands how party activities are done, you don't do convention without doing congresses. You do world, local government, states, or the zonal before you do your convention. So what he did was pure act of illegality. And don't forget that prior to that convention, they communicated to INEC and said the convention was going to hold in Umuahia. I think Umuahia was the first one. From there, they said Asaba. The next thing, Oka. So after INEC sent their people to the first and second, they refused to send to the third because they kept changing. So that was already also a violation. Okay, so they did, and again, you violated the provisions of the constitution of the party by not doing congresses before claiming to have done the convention. And that was why, when we went to court, INEC joined. INEC filed a counter affidavit, swore on oath, swore an oath to say this man's tenure has expired. He lacks the locus to preside over the affairs of Labour Party. And that was the judgment today. And that is why INEC is under obligation to obey the judgment of the Supreme Court, because INEC was a party and INEC was in agreement with the real owners of the party to say this man's tenure has expired, and the Supreme Court agreed that the man's tenure has expired. So it's incumbent on INEC to, disregard Abure. That's what it is. So, and like I said, we are on the verge of resolving this problem, and by the special grace of God, I'm convinced that in the next few weeks everything will be over. We are on it. So we are not leaving the Labour Party, to the best of my knowledge.
Silencing the opposition.
So let me respond to the second thing. So when we say silence the opposition, I don't know what they mean. And we are a very law-abiding government, a responsible government, a civilized government. And we are a nation and a people governed by a law. If I come out here and I'm because if you say and I say, you say we are using propaganda, how? What does that mean? We are putting the facts on the table. I speak facts on every single matter. Any subject matter I want to take on, I speak facts. And if you have superior facts, you present it and people will agree with you. But if I come here to defend your character, you are under obligation to seek redress in court. This government has never arrested anybody for criticizing it. Never. And we will never do it. But in the past, people were picked up left, right, and center and dumped in Afra prison, and dumped in DSS headquarters. Some persons were flown to Abuja. Remember they say, I give you the Abuja, I give you the Abuja. It was common here. I give you the Abuja. Even though they will capture you like a terrorist and fly you to Abuja. That was what they were doing. Here, we're not doing it. So, people, because we're a democracy and the law provides for people to seek redress in court when they feel defamed. So, we are not, ready to indulge in repression of any kind. We are a responsible government. A government unanimously chosen by the people has no reason to be afraid because some persons are criticizing the government. It's a beauty of democracy, and we welcome opposing views. We welcome divergent views. We welcome those who disagree with us. But what we are saying, if somebody comes out here and audaciously lies against this government, we are under obligation to respond to the person and put the record straight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Sorry, I was on camera.
You like painting. His brother, the governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Otti, has performed very well. But when people want to play funny politics, they say all kinds of things. And when you do so, we also respond. Because he knows he wasn't saying the truth. He had visited the governor and praised him and said he drove, I think, 40 minutes from Ibere to Isialangwa to come and see him. And he knows that that road had never, since 1999, been that way. The first time the road will be like that. This is our place. We applied the road for several years, and we have known how it has always been. So when he says he's painting the road, well, I don't know. I can see the reactions of the people. When they see Adians and Nigerians and Igbo people commenting and condemning such statements, and even the gathering, they think we are sponsoring them. We are not sponsoring anyone. And in any case, it's also important that we say that we are not at war with anyone, including the senator. You understand? But when you play bad politics, when you vilify us, when you lambast us, because even the Inimba Hotel, you heard what his brother said, alleged against the governor. We're dodging in shady deals. He said that, I think, about 2 months ago. We ignored. So a whole lot of things were being said. The governor kept quiet. But we issued one response, and everybody started panicking. It now looked as if we are the aggressors. Governor Alex Otti is not the aggressor. A whole lot of things have been said. Last year, don't forget when Senator Carl also dismissed the road before he now finally said the one. He said there was one first statement he made, that was Ohofia Arochukwu Road. He claimed we were building only 14 kilometers. And the people couldn't believe when they heard such a thing. How could somebody say this thing? This is a road. Road is visible. It's something somebody can see and feel and touch. So when you know that the people have suffered over the years, and you wake up to claim that you had built all the roads, you got the federal government to do this, that you are just building only 14 kilometers, you are just trying to water down the success of the governor. We are trying to discredit the governor, and the governor is under obligation to respond. And that was what he did last week or so when he issued that statement, putting the record straight. So to say, we have performed, we are doing well, to the acknowledgement and appreciation of our people. So if you say we are not doing anything, you people have the capacity and whatever to dislodge the governor, it's also a lie, because the history, what transpired in 2023 clearly showed that you people are not on ground and that you do not have what it takes to stop the governor. That was just what the governor said. It's not a personal fight, and nobody should misconstrue it to mean that anybody is fighting with anyone. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so it is wrong somebody to work as a PA, an advisor to His Excellency, maybe on secondment basis from the ministry. Because I recall a situation whereby some staff of the BCA up to today are not being paid. For about 2 or 3 years now, they've not received the salaries. They serve as either PAs or SAs to the governor or the wife of the former governor of the state. I don't want to mention their names.
Yeah.
So I want to find out, sir, what the situation is. They are denying their salary for about 2 years now. Secondly, I talked about the pensioners. Still in BCA, about 13 months or thereabouts, BCA retirees, retired staff of BCA owed their pensions. 2024 till date. They are being paid the pension, regular pension, but then the arrears of the pension.
Okay, the arrears.
The arrears, they're not paid up
Okay.
to today.
That should be taken to the head of service and chairman civil service commission. You understand? Because, for example, Senator T.O.G.'s pension was paid, I think it was last year. You understand? It was brought to the attention of the governor that he had not been paid his pension. So when the governor got across to those in charge of the system, they said when he became chief of staff, everything was stopped. You understand? And that was when the problem started. So it wasn't even, even when before the governor came, that the whole thing wasn't being paid. But the governor gave an instruction, the whole thing was resolved and he was paid. So there are people who have, I met with concerned pensioners here, and I think first week of December, I met with over 500 of them at School Road here. There were only 2 persons who, when I said, after we spoke and interacted, I spoke with anybody, there were only 2 persons that raised their hand to say they have issues. Before, there were many of them that had issues, but all those things have been resolved. So that speaks to the sincerity of the government. So that speaks to the fact that some of these issues, they are either technical or man-made, one problem or the other. Okay? So it's not as if anybody intentionally doesn't want to. So when you have a problem, you take it to the right quarters. Let them know what the issues. You can't single out 2 persons or 3 persons because they worked as PA to anyone and say, well, because if you are a civil servant, you are on secondment. It does not in any way, as long as you adhere to the rules. It does not in any. So we don't trivialize these issues. We don't go petty to say because you worked for this person, what you do this person, you can't say. Nobody is ready to condescend low. The government doesn't have such time, and nobody here oppressed that way. We don't personalize these issues. But it's also important to state that we have a lot of issues with the civil servants, the way they operate here. You know, there was a promotion exam that happened in 2024. And after the exam, a lot of people had NA, not available. A lot of people didn't get their results. In the end, it was traced to civil servants. I've handled a lot of issues concerning civil servants. I don't want to condemn a civil servant, but there are some persons that are very horrible. You are a civil servant, you know tomorrow you become a pensioner. But if somebody brings a problem that concerns your colleague, you will dump it, you won't do it. Your colleagues, well, you hide that documents. So government is becoming decisive, going to become very decisive this year. If you are called sabotage, because it is not the government that you are doing. More than 97% of the people in the system are civil servants. So if you bring a problem that concerns a civil servant, your colleague, you don't care. You will leave it. So when something will be limited to you, you abandon it. Because as far as I'm concerned, there is no problem that doesn't have a solution. And there is no problem in the civil service that doesn't have somebody whose responsibility it is to solve it. So you see here, battling with civil servants, people intentionally trying to sabotage the system, maybe because they do not have the opportunity they used to have before to do funny things. Just like the local government. You know, before, people just fill the register and pay those they want to pay, collect a lot of money on behalf of others, and shortchange. And that was why you had issues. The local government, where a lot of people were not being paid. And sometimes you'll be paid this month, they will jump the next 3 months, they will pay you again, and they will not pay again, the next 6 months, they will pay you again. So those are the issues we have been dealing with. So in summary, I would suggest that if there are people who have issues, who have not been paid as a result of secondment or whatever, let them bring the necessary documents, the necessary evidence. We take it to the appropriate quarters and pursue vigorously until the issues are resolved. That's the best way to handle it. As far as I'm concerned, it's a straightforward thing. If it's not if it's something that the head of service can handle, head of service will handle it to our accountant general or chairman civil service commission. It must be solved somewhere because the problem is coming from somewhere. So we need to find out the root, the foundation. That's what I think. Then the issue of the pension, the arrears. Remember that BCA was not structured to be paid pension from the central system. I'm sure you know that. They were the ones paying themselves, right? And they didn't have the mechanism in place. You know what we were doing? We were building a house without foundation. Because you also know that the BCA doesn't have the capacity to sustain the payment of pension of its members over time, given the number of people that were employed there. Because they employ far more than they needed to employ. I'm sure you are aware of that. If you look at the number of people that are BCA staff, you know that they cannot pay them. So what the governor has just done was to also make them integrated in the, and those arrears were piling when this problem was being resolved. That was what happened. Was to get everybody integrated in the central payroll. So you have a clean system where you click the button, people are paid. Because nobody will be here forever. You will leave. So if you don't put a system that is sustainable, a system that is enduring, you will not be able to solve this problem. So the way the government is operating from the experience of his background. Just like APSU. You know how APSU was being run aground before this government came on board. Remember they were doing generator and pay, APSU, while they also receiving pension and subvention from the state government. But we had a standard 11 months salary arrears. They were unable to pay because they were employing people like mad everywhere. Somebody came, bought his village men, everybody, and saturated the system with. And the school was collapsing. Faculty of law, and I had said it when I appeared on, maybe, I don't know whether it's Mr. C's program, or I said it. APSU, for example, the faculty of law, you are not expected to admit more than 150 persons in a session. But they were admitting 250. Now, you are expected to send, I think, either 120 or 130 to law school on graduation. So when you admit 250 persons, maybe 230 graduate successfully, maybe let's say that 20, had issues and didn't graduate. You have 230. Don't forget, you are expected to send only 130 maximum. So you have an understanding of 100, right? What do you do with them? That was what they were doing here. And people were now paying 800,000, 1 million to be sent to law school. Not because they had any problem, but because it became extremely competitive, it became the survival of the fittest, the richest. That was what was happening here. And that was why the governor came and put a stop to it. So, because I knew one man that contacted me, the son had been at home for 3 good years. I couldn't go to law school. The man didn't have money to pay. Didn't have money to pay. And the son couldn't go to law school. That was atrocious. And that was when we came on board, the management reached out to the Attorney General, to the governor, so that we bring the government house list, admission list. That was what was obtainable here over the years. Professional courses, law, medicine, optometry, pharmacy, and the rest of them. You bring government house list. The governor was in this school and warned. He doesn't want to hear this again. Warn them. He should go and warn them. So the Attorney General, go and warn them. I don't want to hear this again. There is no governor's list. There is no government house list. A lot of people do not know what this governor has done in this state. The impact of the transformation he's carrying out, the sanitization he's carrying out here. Because you may have a child who is brilliant and wants to read medicine, but because of one, I wouldn't want to say useless politician who thinks he is in power now. Because Ferdinand is in power now, I will now go to my village, bring people and write lists and give to them. That was what they were doing. But your son or your daughter that is bright will not be able to read law or read medicine because the politicians have hijacked everything. So those are the things we are correcting. But you do not expect people who had benefited from these atrocious arrangements to be happy with the present government. But they will not even want to tell you what their anger is. They will drive this from a different perspective. The way you believe that we are doing the wrong things. We are not infallible. We are not perfect. But we are saying that these people who were very notorious in many ways do not have the moral rights to come and say what they are saying, because they destroyed the state. And what were the checkered history we are trying to write was written by them. So it's a very simple and straightforward issues. We are correcting the mess, including what happened in the BCA. But this issue, because the governor gave an instruction last time it was mentioned, so we have to also follow it up and ensure that the arrears are paid. But what I told you was actually what cost it. Okay, doing generate and pay and running around the system when you don't have the capacities to sustain it. You saw how big your BCA. We are started. Before, Akwangwano Julius, snakes used to fill everywhere dark. You see how everywhere it presently lit up. We are calling the area of infrastructure. You see how the place is going to look. Thank you.
Final question.
Because the governor has been doing well at state level.
Yes.
Is how can you assess the activities of the mayors? I ask so because it's not been easy to get them to talk about their activities or give their scorecards. They've been in office for some time.
Yes.
Rural areas, how will you assess the activities?
Very tough for them. That is not easy. Working at the grassroots, dealing with the people there, the challenges there, the enormity. In fact, they gave an example that the innocent official vehicles they were given to, that they took them, all of them, to the service center. When they checked the mileage, they shouted. They said all the people they had dealt with, that there is no states where you have such mileage, covered. There's none. But it's because of, according to them, they say it's because of the extent what they overcome, where they penetrate, the things they go to ensure that they meet, the needs of the people. And of course, they did. They were just responding to as if, you knew what transpired there. A response to your question, or just the explanations they offered there when the question of this nature came up. So they made it very clear that at the moment, they have, fantastic relationship with the state and that they are doing a lot. And they challenge the media to visit each of the local governments. And they are ready to have an arrangement that will enable you people to come on a special tour of the projects they are executing. And the chairman of the mayors, there's the Argon chairman, Honorable Chinedu Ekeke, used himself as an example that there is none that has been criticized. That somebody says that he's called him a ghost mayor. That is a ghost mayor, I think on Twitter also. So he said, the people should come to his local government and look at what he's doing and interact with his people, and that will prove if he's a ghost mayor or not. You understand? So that they will engage the media to put a mechanism in place that will enable them come and see what they are doing. So as far as I'm concerned, the mayors are doing a lot of job. Let me use my local government as an example. Bende has the highest number of traditional rulers in the southeast. Bende, local government. And that was uncalled for. People created it. A problem. It's a problem that was created. In every ward in Bende, you won't get anything less than 10 autonomous communities. It's a problem. And don't forget that the local government system, the traditional system is captured in the local government. They are supposed to be paid from the local government allocation. And look at what the state government is paying. Today, you know what that means? Now, in primary health centers, you know they are the responsibility of local governments. You know what it means what it takes to build one primary health center. I mean, get it functionalized. Functionalization means equipping it. It's not 1 naira. So if you look at the allocation, for example, that comes to Bende, don't forget that in Aide we have, I think, 974 primary health centers across the 184 wards. So assuming we have, let's say, 50 in Bende, do you think that our local government can build the 50 primary health centers? That it has the financial capacity to do so? You cannot. You can't. Do you think they have the financial capacity to even achieve those when you look at the allocation? So that's why even the federal government found itself in a very difficult situation, the autonomy. And that's why, because if you do autonomy now, the money should be going straight to their local government accounts, right? But it still go to the JAC account. So if you say, okay, carry your problem and solve, then the state will divide it to roads that fall within the jurisdiction of the local government and roads that fall within the jurisdiction of the state. Just like we have federal roads, you know them. You find out it's not going to be an easy thing. But nobody can claim that we've gotten to the level we have gotten everything right. So it's work in progress. Identify the problems, have a better synergy, a better understanding, better working relationship, and also fuel, because the grassroots is very important. Identifying the problems there to solve them is also very important. So we are having a fantastic synergy with the local government and doing our best. I come from a ward, and in that ward we have, I think, 4 primary health centers. 2 have been built and functionalized. A 3rd one is on top. That's one word. Can our local government do it in the culture and everything? I still pay salaries. I still pay traditional rulers. I still pay health workers. Impossible. Thank you.
I still want to, just 2 questions. First, BCA. BCA has become something that we cannot talk about in the open because the way things are going there, and the sharp contrast there is that most of the people that are going on retirement, they are the people that inspired some of us to broadcast. I don't want to start mentioning names because a good number of them, when I look at their states today, I cry. In fact, one of them will be laid to rest very soon, talking about their son, Sam Bani, and all that by next month. So it's quite painful. But from all the stations, his pension, he only got his pension twice, and his gratuity not paid. And when we were talking, we didn't include the gratuity of the BCA retirees and all that. I think, anyway, let me allow you to talk about that. And as the man is gone now, I mean, that is gone. The government has linked into this time that probably is what our boss Oko has said, that some things were buried in the government house. Probably, maybe you are not telling us that.
Thank you. Okay, let me start with the one I consider the topmost priority, the issue of pension. The man you said died in the BCA, may he so rest in peace. And you see, this is a problem with laying a very terrible foundation. Because if you have, just like what the governor is doing now, you are putting mechanisms in place, mechanisms that will make it easy for whoever will succeed the governor not to go through that hell again. I know what we pass through now during verification. And that is why because of the lesson we learned from the other one, we said this issue of gratuity, we have to be extremely careful so that we don't omit anyone. Because once you start paying this gratuity, which is 61 point something billion, after the whole verification was concluded, if you omit anyone, you know how it feels. That maybe, let's say you people are 10 here, and you pay 9, you know that your colleagues have gotten number, you know how you will feel. So it is the same mess because of what we saw. We learned from the experience of that verification, pension verification, and we do not want that thing to reoccur again. So that is why government has taken time to do these verifications and arrived at where it is. So if that terrible foundation had not been laid in the BCA, you will not see what you are seeing today. Growing up, we used to admire permanent secretaries. Okay? You hear somebody is a permanent secretary. And the way the system was structured, as a PAMSEC, you have an official car, you live in a decent environment, you earn that a decent salary, you are sure that at the end of every month, your salary is coming. That when you retire, that your pension is coming. Today, pensioners are aware when their pension will come because of what the governor has done. But it wasn't like that in the past. So the governor wants to take the state back to the old era, when pension was not an issue. When, as a PAMSEC, you knew that as you are retired, you are getting your benefits, everything will be taken care of. So we are sorry for the inconveniences anybody may have suffered in the course of doing these things. But the most important thing, a robust, a decent, a well-structured system is being put in place or has been put in place to ensure that these problems don't reoccur. That's what it is. Now, the issue of government house, you prioritize your needs according to their importance. I mentioned the SLG's office. When you hear SLG's office, you think it's just one office. But go there and see. Just go there. Massive. Just built by this government. The JAM building was abandoned for many years. The governor came and fixed it in record time. Then the Zikiwe Secretariat was in a state of decay and abandonment for years. The governor came and fixed it. You have the Opera Auditorium. You have the rest of them. Now, you don't have made any sense that the resources used in fixing these important institutions were deployed in just getting a comfortable office for the government and tertiary education. Go there and see how happy these staff are. It's unprecedented. One night you don't work in such an environment. You have everything. The place is decent and looking beautiful. The offices are well equipped. Even this secretariat, this new secretariat, that's what it's called now, new secretariat. You know how the place where before, if you climb the first floor, you see lockers packed everywhere. People are crowd. You think they are coming to do lead. No, it's everywhere. People because they didn't have offices. But you go there, just climb up there. Maybe you people will need to go and talk some of this place so that you enter that office. You go from one floor to another. You see the changes. You see the transformation. So if you say they delayed, you should know that resources are limited. So the government will not have channeled the resources that we use to build structures and institutions and offices that should accommodate or that are accommodating staff to build his own office just because he wants to live in a brand new government house. It wouldn't have made any sense. And I'm sure maybe we would have really criticized instead of the government to fix offices for the civil servants who are staying outside, he invest and fix government house because he wants to live in government house. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, now.
Yes.
No new traditional rulers and the demise of previous ones. And, it's a thing of concern. You are there with our Prime Minister or Secretary, no new traditional ruler, no new staff of office. So what is happening, sir?
Problem we are talking about. You know what is happening in Ohofia? Everything just traditional rulership. Crisis left, right, and center. I come from a community, and in my community we have about 10 traditional rulers. My own area, our traditional ruler died about 8 or 9 years ago, and the way it is structured there, the next traditional ruler is actually supposed to come from my own side, because it's rotational. Our traditional was even young, a lawyer. I was very close to the man, he died. Now, since it ordinarily it would have been easy for me to just, since immediately we came office, nominate somebody. We have people who, but we talk to ourselves. Do we really need this thing? Do we need to have a traditional rule again? Because in the past, in my community, I used to have one traditional ruler, and we came and created 10 plus and continue to create. We created crises and divisions and the breakdown of law and order, left, right, and center. So I took a decision that I have the power to get a traditional ruler for my place. So I pick somebody from, but I don't want that. You don't need it. You have PGs you use to run your communities, and you have overall. So why create all these problems, left, right, and center? So the problem we have here is that people love titles a lot here. Everybody wants to be an Aide. Everybody wants to have his own autonomous community. Everybody wants to create problems. We don't need everything. So the governor is handling this thing. You know, some persons have been given staff of office and recognized where the Aides died. But you're also careful not to continue to deepen this practice that has caused division here. So that's why I say you're contemplating where the Aide has died. We have to just forget the whole thing. But some persons have come from different communities where there are issues to ask the governor to withdraw staff of office. The governor said no. If you withdraw staff of office from someone who didn't commit any crime, in the person's mind, even if the person can't do anything, the person will forever see you as his enemy. That you just became governor, took his staff of office and all those things. But we are just also looking for a way, to reduce the tension created by traditional rulership, the tussle for the thing here. It's creating, so some of the places it's because some of them have serious, I can mention a particular area at Hawaza. I've received no less than 4 persons who have come to me, lobbying because they want to be, including young men, they want to be traditional. What are they targeting? Whatever will come out from AIP. Before they start giving the investors conditions on how to roll out into this. You understand? So that's the problem. So when the government discovers that there is crisis here, that the tussle is too much, the government withdraws. So if you people, you are right to have a traditional ruler, maybe you are died, first and foremost, you must go and put your house in order. I know there's crisis everywhere. People fighting. If you recognize this person revolts and start fighting, maybe plotting how to kill this. So the division is too much. And we have to look for a way to mitigate it. We have to look for a way, to reduce that tension. And that's just what the government is doing. Not because the government hates anyone, it doesn't want anybody to become a traditional ruler. Yeah, so at least the government didn't dethrone anybody, didn't remove anyone. You saw what happened in the Osisioma prior to 2023 election. most of the people wanted to gather and do something. And they say Eze left, not even recognized Eze, carried the machete and was shouting, they shouldn't come near his. So that they say, you people trying to, stop the government from recognizing me. If you do this, the government won't recognize me. So you see the kind of importance people attach to this thing. In the end, you ask yourself, what are they pursuing? So we are trying to reduce tension. The most important thing is to better the welfare of traditional rulers. That's the most important thing, which is what the governor has done. He's not creating autonomous left right. How many states in the southeast? Go and calculate. They calculated it, they found that the number of traditional rulers in Nigeria is higher than the total number of the other states in the southeast. They have checked it. And alone. That was terrible now. So we shouldn't support that kind of practice. Thank you.
Thanks for finding out time to respond to these questions. We have a whole lot more, but it was not.
Before now, there has always been that challenge of broadcasters coming together and consolidating. And that has spanned all the way down to NBC, where we have different sanctions coming in, and we are not able to come out with one voice and say to NBC, no, this is not right. So I believe the emergence of ATEX is going to go on address some of those issues, not just NBC, ACON as well. I thank you, because you're the mouthpiece of the government. Present means that we're going to say we're not supposed to be in concordance. We're supposed to be on the other side, trying to do what? To the general activities of the government. But with your presence, it means but we always make sure that if there are things that we see, if there are issues that affects the government, we'll definitely make sure we bring it to you first before we go on air with it. I believe that is the essence of this. My sister made mention about local governments. That is one of the biggest issues that needs to be addressed, because most of the activities that happen at the government not being. And I put it to you that if we decide to go on the top, most of those the level of things we're going to find out might be bad for the government. But we won't be doing that now until let our government give us on that also support the government.
Yes.
We'll carry out our own investigations. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate, like I said earlier, I'm very appreciative of this gathering. And, sometimes what defines someone in government is the mindset with which you are operating. Some of us do not think that criticism is nobody should operate with that mindset in a democracy. We are together, everyone. If the state is good, it's for everyone. If it's bad, it's for everyone. And that is why it's dangerous to defend impunity. It is bad. Your state. So those who think that when somebody criticizes a government, whether you're a media practitioner, that is an attack, are those who do not. When you have the mindset that anyone that disagrees with you is attacking your government, then that's laying a foundation for failure. So we welcome divergent views. We welcome, contrary views and opiniously in deepening governance. So I want to thank you once again. Interact, like I said, did request, in my opening remarks, that we need to expand it, and we're going to ensure that it gets better. Maybe even rotate it. Maybe also we can go to Aba and do somewhere.